Dot Solutions. Add-on desires.
Hello viewers, welcome to our Solution Daily Current Affairs. I am Lokesh Penugonda. Our first article is talking about the Supreme Court questioning the Union government regarding its continuous usage of Article 66A, even though Article 66A was struck down by the Supreme Court way back in the year 2015. So what is this Article 66A? In the year 2000, the Indian Parliament, to penalize and to punish those persons involved in cybercrime activities, has brought the act called as Information Technology Act. So as you can see here, it is mainly to punish and penalize those persons involved in cyber criminal activities. And there is a provision in this act called as Article 66A. Article 66A empowers the law enforcement agencies to arrest any person accused of posting something on their social media platforms if the law enforcement agencies feels that this post is offensive, this post is menacing, or it may be simply causing annoying to the people. So let's say there is a person A. Person A is a social media user and he might be posting a post or some content on Facebook, Twitter or some other social media platform, and if someone feel that this social media post is offensive, it is offensive or it may be menacing or it may be just causing them annoyance, in this case they can approach the law enforcement agencies, or law enforcement agencies can themselves file a case under this Article 66A so as to arrest someone for the reason of giving a post which is offensive, menacing or just annoying. So from this you can understand that it has a wide scope to arrest anyone, because a person might feel that a particular post might be offensive, someone else might feel that this post is funny. So based on their own discretion, based on their own understanding, a small post or a small content might be either funny, it may be offensive, or it may be just nothing. So this article is providing wide powers to the law enforcement agencies, and critics state that this act can be used against media persons to intimidate, and it can be used against political leaders who are in opposition to arrest them and to intimidate them. So for this reason they have went to the Supreme Court stating that this is against the fundamental right of freedom of expression. We have a fundamental right called as freedom of expression. Supreme Court has agreed this point of view by the critics, and in the year 2015, in the famous Shreya Singhal versus Union of India case of 2015, it has struck down this Article 66A, which is providing wide powers to the law enforcement agencies so as to arrest anyone if they feel that the post posted by the accused is offensive. So it was struck down in the year 2015, but Supreme Court has seen that the Union government is still continuing the usage of this Article 66A. So it has stated that it is shocked to see a usage of an article by the Union government, even though it was scrapped or invalidated 6 years ago, and it is asking the reply of the Union government in this regard. So this is the content relating to this article. Next we have an article which is talking about mango diplomacy. To improve the relation between Bangladesh and its neighbors, Bangladesh government has been sending some varieties of mangoes to its neighbors. As India is one of an important neighbor of Bangladesh, Bangladeshi Prime Minister Ms. Sheikh Hasina has sent nearly 1000 kgs of mangoes to Prime Minister and 1000 kgs of mangoes to the President, and some other quantities of mangoes to the political leaders and leaders of the northeastern states bordering the country of Bangladesh. So we'll see the mango variety that the Bangladesh Prime Minister has sent to India. The mango variety sent to India is Hari Bhanga. you should remember the variety of this mango, because in India itself we have more than 16 type of mangoes varieties which are being produced. We have the mangoes such as Mahua, we have the mangoes such as Banginapalli, we have mangoes such as Kesar being produced and being exported worldwide. So Haribanga is something not produced in India, but rather as a part of mango diplomacy, Bangladeshi government has sent it to Indian leaders. Next we have an article which is talking about OPEC's output pact proposal. So we'll just see in brief about the OPEC. OPEC is nothing but an organization for petroleum exporting countries. So we have an organization called as OPEC. This is an organization for petroleum exporting countries. So what is the aim of this OPEC grouping? The major aim of this OPEC grouping is to regulate the oil supply so as to get good amount of money for its exporting. So the major objective is to regulate oil production so as to get good amount of money for their exports. So how does regulating oil exports and oil production help these countries get good amount of money? Let's say in the year 2020, the oil demand worldwide is just 100 liters. So assume that due to COVID pandemic and due to lockdown restrictions, in the world over, you have a requirement of oil worth just 100 liters. 100 liters. But the oil producing and exporting countries might be producing and exporting 200 liters, because in the year 2019, these countries might be producing and exporting 200 liters, but due to COVID pandemic, the demand has been less. In this case, if the oil producing and exporting countries continue to produce 200 liters, then you can understand that the production is more than demand. So when you have more amount of product and you have less amount of demand, then the prices will normally decrease, because the buyer might say, if you're not giving, we can go and buy from some other person, because there is huge amount of oil that is available. So last year, as the demand has been reduced to a record level, the oil producing and exporting countries have reduced their oil production and oil exports so that the prices can be maintained at a particular level. But this year, what the OPEC is doing is that even though when the oil demand is nearly 200 liters, it is still maintaining oil production and export at 190 to 200 liters. So we can see that the oil demand and oil production is nearly the same. So the price is a lot higher when compared to the last year, where we have more production than that is needed. Indian government has requesting these OPEC countries to increase the production. So why is India government requesting the OPEC countries to increase the production? Let's assume that if these countries produce more amount of oil, let it be 300 liters, and if the oil demand is just 200 liters, then oil prices will fall down, because even in this case, we get more amount of oil in the international market. So India is asking, if you produce and export more oil, the prices in the international community regarding oil will reduce. But OPEC grouping is not accepting India's proposal. It has stated that in the last year, the prices of oil has been very low. On average, the price of oil for one oil barrel is just $42, whereas the current price of oil for one barrel is $72. So we'll see what is this one oil barrel. One oil barrel will have nearly 160 liters of oil. So if you are talking about barrel, you should understand that one oil barrel will have 160 liters. Last year, if you want to purchase 160 liters worth oil, 160 liters quantity oil, you have to just pay $42. But this year, as the demand and supply are nearly the same, it is nearly $72. So you can understand that the oil prices in the international community has been increased by more than 60%. As a result, in India, the oil is nearing 100 rupees or even 1 or 2 rupees a liter. So as it is a huge impact, as it could create a huge impact on the people, Indian government is requesting this OPEC grouping to increase the oil production and to reduce the oil prices indirectly. So this is what is happening at the international level when it comes to OPEC. And they have not yet agreed to increase the oil production. So we might not see the reduction in oil prices in the coming up days. Next we have an article which is talking about the ICDS. So what is this ICDS? ICDS stands for Integrated Child Development Services. Integrated Child Development Scheme. This was launched by the Union government way back in the year 1975, and a recent survey done by one private organization has found out that nearly 55% of the beneficiaries in the Jharkhand did not get enough supplies under the Integrated Child Development Scheme. So what are all the benefits a person will get under this Integrated Child Development Scheme? From the name itself, you can understand that this is an integrated scheme for child development. That means it would not only help a child, but also it would help a lactating and a pregnant woman. So this scheme will be useful for lactating women, pregnant women and children. So we'll see various categories or various benefits we get under this ICDS scheme. First is increased supplement of nutrition. So the first benefit given to the people who are enrolled under this ICDS is supplementary nutrition. Supplementary nutrition. We know that a large population of the country, mainly in the central India, are poor and they does not have enough money to buy enough nutritional quality food. As a result, children living in the states such as Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and even in Madhya Pradesh does not have enough nutritional capacity. As a result, their mental and physical well-being is negatively impacted. So to help all these children and to help other children living in India who are poor with nutrition, this ICDS was launched. So the first benefit a person will get or a child will get if he is enrolled under this scheme is increased supplementary nutrition. That is, government will provide them food or raw materials that is required to them. Next is, it will provide the children preschool or pre-formal education. Pre-formal education. We have something called as Anganwadi centers. You should note that these Anganwadi centers have been set up under this ICDS scheme. So we have the Anganwadi centers wherein children who are less than 6 years are generally sent. In these Anganwadi centers, not only will the children get food or raw materials, but also they will get some kind of education from these Anganwadi heads or the Anganwadi people. So these are two important benefits a child will get. Apart from this, a child will also get immunization. That is, children under this scheme would be given vaccines, and there is something called as referral program. Referral program. Children after going to this Anganwadi centers will be analyzed, and if the Anganwadi center managing people find out that some child is having some problem, then this child will be referred to the nearby private health centers so that this child can go there and can get some kind of cure. So all these are coming under the Integrated Child Development Services. You should note that this is a 1975 launched scheme under the Union government, and the Ministry of Women and Child Development is a nodal authority of the scheme. So this is with the ICDS. Next we have an article dealing with Mrs. Mithali. So we have the Indian women team cricket captain, who is Miss Mithali Raj, and yesterday she has become the highest international ODI run scorer. So she has become the highest ever run scorer at the in the international level. So this is a significant achievement of Mrs. Mithali Raj, who is currently the Indian captain for the women's team. Next we have an article where the Indian Olympic Association have stated that Miss MC Mary Kom and Mr. Manpreet Singh has been selected to be the flag bearers for the opening ceremony at the Tokyo Olympics. So what is this flag bearing ceremony? In this image you can see a world flag bearing ceremony. If we have a Olympics, all the athletes of a country will participate in an event, and in this event one athlete will be holding the flag of a particular country. In this image you can see how Mr. Sushil Kumar, who is an Indian wrestler, bearing the Indian flag in the last Olympics, and you can also see how all Indian athletes are taking part in this event. So before the Olympics start, every country will showcase its athletes who are participating in the Olympics. This is the opening ceremony, and person who is bearing the flag is called as the flag bearer. In this image you can see only one person bearing the flag, and now for the coming up Tokyo Olympics, two persons will hold the flag. They are Miss MC Mary Kom, who is an Indian wrestler, and next is the Mr. Manpreet Singh, who is the captain for Indian hockey team. These two persons were selected to be flag bearers at the starting of the ceremony, and it is stated that the wrestler Mr. Bajrang Punia has been selected to be the flag bearer at the closing ceremony. So similarly, when you start the ceremony, when you have to start the Olympics, you will have the starting ceremony, and also when you are ending the Olympics, you will have the ending ceremony. For the ending ceremony, Mr. Bajrang Punia will be the flag bearer. So these are three important names you should remember for this coming up year's Tokyo Olympics. Next we have an article which is talking about the launch of a new scheme or a mission by the Union government. This mission has been titled as Nipun Bharat. Nipun Bharat. So what does this Nipun Bharat mission talk about? The objective of this mission is to improve the reading and writing proficiency of children. It is stated that by the end of the year 2027, all the children who are in class 3 should be able to read, should be able to understand basic English, and apart from this they should be able to do some basic math that include multiplication. So to improve the learning, to improve the reading, and to improve the numeracy skills of children, the Nipun Bharat scheme or Nipun Bharat mission was launched by the Union Education Ministry, and it is stated that the aim would be attained by the year 2027. You should note that for this Nipun Bharat scheme or the Nipun Bharat mission, there is no separate funding, but rather the funds which are already available under the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan would be used for this Nipun Bharat scheme. So this is with respect to the new mission launched by the Education Ministry. Next we have an article which is talking about the drowning of a boat near the Tunisia. So we'll see where Tunisia is. In the image you can see Tunisia, which is a North African country. The capital of this country is Tunis. People mainly living in the sub-Saharan Africa, when they want to migrate to European Union for better livelihood and for better jobs, they generally pass the Mediterranean Sea in small boats. So they try to illegally cross the Mediterranean Sea and go to the European Union for better life and better livelihood. And sometimes in their journey, their boat might capsize, and persons who are going in this boat might die. So this is what happened exactly in the yesterday's drowning of a boat near the Tunisia coast. So you should remember that Tunisia is a North African country and its capital is Tunis. Next we have an article talking about Cuba. Cuba, it is stated that is bracing for a tropical sea storm. So we'll just see where Cuba is. Cuba is one of a Caribbean island country and it is near the United States and Mexico. So you can see in this image where Cuba is, and you can also see its neighbors such as the Bahamas, Jamaica and Mexico. The capital of Cuba is Havana. So these are the important points you should remember: the capital of Cuba and its neighbors and where it is. Next we have an article where RBI has stated that it is planning to buy 20,000 crore worth government securities on July 8th. So we'll see what are these government securities. Government securities are the bonds the government, that is the union government, will release. So it is a process for which it is a process by which the union government will try to take a loan. So how does government securities work? Let's say the union government wants to borrow 1000 rupees from the market. Then the union government will provide in the market a bond worth 1000 rupees, wherein an individual person or a RBI or even a bank can purchase this 1000 rupees bond after paying 1000 rupees. So a person A might buy this bond after paying 1000 rupees. So government, by issuing this bond, will get 1000. What is the benefit for this person? Person A, after purchasing this 100,000 rupees bond, will get a fixed revenue by interest. So the union government, as it is taking a loan or as it is selling this 1000 rupees worth government securities to person A, it have to pay a fixed interest to person A. So it is something similar to to deposit some money in a bank. So if you deposit some money in a bank, you will get some interest. Similarly, if you buy the government securities, you will get some interest on this. So this is how the government securities work. And the RBI has stated that it is planning to purchase 1.2 lakh crore government securities and under the initiative called as GSAP 2.0. So what is this GSAP 2.0? GSAP is nothing but the GSEC acquisition program. RBI Governor Mr. Shaktikanta Das has stated that for the financial year 2022, for the quarter 2 for this financial year, we will purchase 1.2 lakh crore worth government securities under the Government Security Acquisition Program. And as a first installment, RBI is purchasing 20,000 crores. So later, RBI will purchase remaining 1 lakh crore within this quarter 2 of the financial year 2022. So this is what a government security is, and this is the amount the RBI is planning to take from the government through securities, through the government SAP 2.0. And with this, we have come to the end of this session. Inform about ADOS initiative to your other aspirant friends. You can visit our website to attempt mock test based on the daily current affairs. Thank you for watching.
Add-on solutions. Add-on desires.